Hello, we're Mark and Debbie, and we want to welcome you to Living Your Senior Life. You know, spring is such an exciting time for gardeners. The weather's warming up, the garden centers are full of possibilities, and we're all eager to get our hands in the soil again. But if you've been gardening for a while, you might have noticed that some tasks that used to be easy, well, they're getting a little harder on our bodies. Maybe it's the bending and kneeling. Maybe it's lifting those heavy bags of soil. Or perhaps it's just feeling more tired after a day in the garden than you used to. Here's the good news. You don't have to give up gardening. You just need to garden smarter, not harder. Today, we're sharing 12 practical tips that can completely transform your gardening experience. We're talking about raised beds that bring plants to your level, ergonomic tools that reduce strain, and smart systems that do the work for you so you can focus on the joy of growing things. Whether you're dealing with arthritis, balance concerns, or you just want to make gardening easier on your body, these tips will help you continue doing what you love safely and comfortably. To make it easier for you to review, we've created a free downloadable PDF guide with everything we're covering today. All 12 tips, specific product recommendations with clickable shopping links, and a quick start checklist. You'll find the link in the show notes. 2 quick notes before we dive in. The product links in the PDF are affiliate links, so if you purchase from them, I may earn a small commission at no extra cost to you. And as always, if you have any health concerns, check with your doctor before making changes to your gardening routine. So grab a cup of coffee, tea, or your water, get comfortable, and let's talk about how to keep your garden and yourself thriving for many years to come. Let's dive in.
Welcome back to the deep dive. It is finally starting to feel a little bit like spring out there.
Finally.
And, that usually triggers this instinctual excitement. The green thumbs start itching, you're ready to get back into the dirt.
Right.
But we need to be honest about the flip side of that coin.
The physical reality check.
Exactly. For a huge portion of the gardening population, that excitement is immediately followed by, well, a sense of dread.
Oh, yeah.
You look at the backyard and you don't just see potential tomatoes. You see potential back spasms. You see knee pain.
You see exhaustion before you even start. It's the paradox of the aging gardener. The mind is just as ambitious as ever.
Maybe even more so. You have the time.
But the body is sending very, very different signals. We're talking about arthritis, reduced grip strength, balance issues. It turns a sanctuary into a source of chronic pain.
And the tragic part is that the knee-jerk reaction is often to just quit. To say, well, I guess I'm too old for this, I'll just paint it over.
Which is such a loss.
It is. But today, we are diving into a guide that argues the exact opposite. We're looking at 12 smart gardening tips for seniors. Garden smarter, not harder.
And its core thesis is really compelling.
It's not about giving up, it's about evolution.
Adaptation, not resignation. That is the key. If you think about it, gardening is ultimately about managing energy.
The plant's energy and your own.
And as we age, our personal energy budget changes. So this deep dive is about restructuring the garden so it fits within that new budget.
I like that framing, the energy budget. So our mission today is to break down how to spend that budget wisely.
Right.
We're going to look at infrastructure changes, the physics of ergonomic tools, automating the heavy lifting.
And even rethinking the actual plants we choose. We are dismantling the traditional labor-intensive model of gardening and rebuilding it for longevity.
Okay, so let's start with the biggest energy drain. Gravity. I mean, the ground is far away.
It really is.
Getting down to it is hard, but getting back up is the real killer. The source material suggests the first major shift is bringing the garden to you.
Right. We need to eliminate the deadlift aspect of gardening. The gold standard here is the raised bed.
But I want to get specific because a lot of people implement this wrong.
They do, and they end up creating new problems.
It's not just about piling up some dirt in a box.
No. The article specifies a height range of 24 to 36 inches. Now, there is a reason for that specific variance.
Okay.
If you are gardening from a seated position, maybe you're using a wheelchair or a rolling garden seat, 24 inches gives you knee clearance. It's like sitting at a desk.
But if you're standing,
then you want 30 to 36 inches. You want that soil surface to be at waist height so your spine stays neutral. No hunching over.
But hold on, there's a logistical issue here, right? If you build a box that's 3 feet deep, that is a massive volume of soil to fill.
It is. Buying that many bags of soil will cost a fortune, and hauling them is a workout in itself.
So what's the trick?
A deeper insight here, it's often used in permaculture, is to fill the bottom half or even 2/3 of that deep bed with organic debris.
Like what? Branches.
Old logs, branches, leaves, it takes up volume so you don't have to buy as much soil, and as it decays over years, it feeds the bed from below.
That's smart. It solves the volume problem and the nutrition problem. What about the width? The guide was pretty specific about arm's reach.
4 feet maximum. This is non-negotiable.
Right.
If a bed is wider than 4 feet, you cannot reach the center without stepping into it or overextending your back. You need to be able to reach the middle 2 feet in from either side.
While keeping your feet flat on the ground.
Exactly.
And materials. I've seen everything from cedar to like galvanized steel.
The guide recommends cedar or composite for longevity. Cedar is naturally rot resistant, which is great.
But those composites are interesting.
They are. They're often made from recycled plastics and wood fibers, so they don't rot at all. But you have to consider thermal mass.
They get hot.
They can. Dark composites can heat up the soil a lot in the summer, so if you're in a hot climate, you might want lighter colors or just stick with wood.
Okay, so raised beds are the permanent infrastructure. But what if you need more flexibility? The guide talks a lot about container gardening, but my immediate thought is pots are heavy.
So heavy.
If I have a 20-gallon pot with a citrus tree in it, I am not moving that.
You shouldn't be moving it, at least not with your back. The hack here is simple physics. Wheels. The guide emphasizes using heavy-duty plant caddies.
Basically skateboards for your plants.
Precisely. You put the pot on wheels and suddenly you can track the sun or move it out of a hailstorm with just a gentle push of your foot.
But there's another layer to weight reduction in containers that people often miss, right? The soil itself.
Yes. The guide mentioned using potting mix instead of garden soil.
And I always assumed that was just marketing. Is there a real weight difference?
A massive difference. Garden topsoil is mineral-based. It's crushed rock, clay, sand. It's dense.
Right.
Potting mix is usually soilless. It's peat moss, coconut coir, vermiculite, perlite. It's designed to have pore space for air.
So it's physically lighter to lift?
Yeah.
But I assume that fluffiness is also better for the roots in a confined space.
Exactly. Container plants need that oxygenation. If you put heavy garden soil in a pot, it compacts into a brick. So by using potting mix, you are saving your back and saving the plant.
One last infrastructure point. Vertical gardening. Growing up.
This is all about bringing the harvest to eye level. Think about green beans or cucumbers.
Where traditionally you're squatting and hunting through leaves near the ground.
Which is hard on the knees and hard on the eyes. If you trellis those crops using wall-mounted systems or even just some cattle panels, the vegetables hang down right in front of your face.
So you can harvest while standing straight up.
And it improves airflow, which reduces fungal diseases. So again, better for the gardener, better for the plant.
I'm seeing the pattern. Okay, let's shift gears to the tools. We've set up the garden to be accessible, but we still have to do the work. The guide talks about ergonomics, which is a buzzword we hear all the time.
It is.
What does it actually mean in a horticultural context?
In this context, ergonomics is primarily about joint alignment, specifically the wrist.
The wrist, okay.
When you use a standard straight-handled trowel, you often have to bend your wrist downward to get leverage. That puts immense strain on the carpal tunnel.
So ergonomic tools change the angle.
They usually have a curved or radius grip that allows you to keep your wrist in a neutral handshake position while you're digging.
Ah, I see
It
it.
transfers the force from the small muscles of the wrist to the larger muscles of your forearm and shoulder.
That makes sense. And weight plays a huge role here too, right?
Huge. A steel tool is durable, but it's heavy. Modern ergonomic tools often use carbon fiber or aluminum handles.
Lighter materials.
And shaving off just a few ounces makes a significant difference if you are making, hundreds of repetitive movements in an afternoon.
Now, there was one specific tool mentioned that I found fascinating, the ratcheting pruner.
This is a pure physics advantage.
Yeah.
It's a force multiplier.
How does it work?
Think of a standard pair of shears, like a single-gear bicycle. You have to provide 100% of the force in one squeeze.
And if the branch is too thick or your grip strength is low...
You hit a wall. You just can't close the blades, and that's when people hurt themselves trying to force it.
Right.
A ratcheting pruner works like a car jack. You squeeze until you meet resistance, and the mechanism locks it, ratchets.
Okay.
You release the handle, the blade stays in place, and you squeeze again for the next bit of progress.
So you're trading time for force. It takes a few pumps, but each pump is easy.
Correct. It allows a person with very little grip strength to cut through a thick, woody stem. It just flattens the difficulty curve.
What about weeding? That seems like the one task you can't really automate without chemicals, which a lot of us want to avoid.
You can't automate it, but you can change the geometry. The guide promotes stand-up weeders and long-handled cultivators.
So you're weeding from a standing position.
You are. There are tools with claws that you push into the ground over a weed, you step on a little lever, and it pulls the weed out, root and all. You never bend over.
That sounds pretty effective. Before we move off tools, there was a budget tip in there that I thought was quite clever.
The pipe insulation hack, this is brilliant.
For people who don't want to replace their whole shed.
You know those foam tubes used to insulate copper pipes? You buy them for pennies and you slip them over the handles of your existing rakes and shovels.
It just makes the handle thicker.
And that is the key. A thin handle requires a tight grip. A thick, soft handle allows you to maintain control with a much looser, open grip. It reduces tension in the hand and forearm significantly.
Simple, cheap, effective. Okay, let's talk about the heaviest element in the garden. Water.
Water is deceptively heavy. It weighs over 8 pounds per gallon.
I think we forget that because it comes out of the tap so easily.
We do. But if you are carrying 2 3-gallon watering cans, you are carrying nearly 50 pounds. That is significant.
Or just dragging a 50-foot hose full of water.
The friction and weight create a massive drag on your body. So the strategy is stop moving the water yourself.
Automate the delivery.
Drip irrigation or soaker hoses are the answer. You lay them out once at the base of the plants, and they stay there.
This is another one of those better for the plant, better for the human scenarios, isn't it?
It is. Overhead watering wastes water and promotes fungal diseases. Soaker hoses deliver water right to the roots. But the real labor saver here is the timer.
The brain of the operation.
You attach a simple battery-operated timer to the spigot. You set it to run for 20 minutes every morning. Now you've removed the physical labor, but you've also removed the mental load.
You don't have to worry, did I water the hydrangeas?
It's just done.
But what about those few pods on the patio? You can't run a hose to everything. The guide had a specific tip about balancing the load.
Yes. If you must carry water, do not use one giant bucket. Use 2 small cans, 1 in each hand.
Like a scale.
It's biomechanics. If you carry 10 pounds in one hand, your spine has to curve and your muscles have to torque to keep you upright.
Which causes strain.
If you carry 5 pounds in each hand, your spine stays neutral. The load is compressive, not twisting.
That's a great visualization. Okay, we've built the beds, we have the tools, we've automated the water. Now we need to talk about the plants themselves.
Right. Because even with the best setup, if you plant a high-maintenance diva of a flower, you're going to be working constantly.
We need to adopt a low-maintenance philosophy.
Exactly. The guide is very clear. Stop planting things that need constant deadheading, staking, or heavy feeding.
So who are the heroes of the low-maintenance garden?
Perennials. Plant once, enjoy for years. Things like coneflowers, hostas, daylilies. You do the work of digging the hole one time.
Instead of annuals where you have to replant every single spring?
That's just unnecessary labor. And the guide puts a heavy emphasis on native plants.
We hear this term a lot, but why are they better for the gardener's back?
It comes down to adaptation. Native plants have evolved in your specific region for thousands of years. They have deeper root systems that can find water on their own.
So they don't need you to water them as much.
Exactly. And they have co-evolved with the local insects, so they're often more resistant to pests. You aren't out there spraying or picking off beetles every day.
You're letting nature do the heavy lift. Speaking of which, let's talk about the mulch magic section. The guide calls mulch the single biggest reduction in daily maintenance.
It's the closest thing to a silver bullet we have. A 2 to 3 inch layer of organic mulch shredded bark or straw performs 3 critical functions.
Okay, what are they?
First, it suppresses weeds by blocking UV light. No light, no weed germination, no bending over to pull them.
That alone makes it worth it.
Second, it retains soil moisture, so you water less often. And third, as it decomposes, it enriches the soil.
It's a weed blocker, a sponge, and a fertilizer, all in one.
All in one.
Okay, we've designed a very efficient system. But here is the variable we can't engineer away. The gardener. We need to talk about workflow. The guide suggests a 30-minute rule.
This is critical. It's so easy to get into a flow state in the garden and suddenly realize you've been weeding for 3 hours and now you can't stand up straight.
So you set a timer.
Yes. Work for 30 minutes, then change tasks or take a break. Switch muscle groups if you were pruning, which is grip strength.
Switch to raking, which is shoulder motion.
Exactly. Don't marathon one movement. And timing with the sun matters too.
Right. Garden early.
6 to 10 a.m. Avoid the midday heat entirely. As we age, our ability to control our body temperature diminishes.
There was also a note about hydration that went beyond just drink water.
Yeah, as we get older, our thirst mechanism actually becomes less sensitive. You can be dehydrated without feeling thirsty.
So you have to drink proactively, not reactively.
Keep a water bottle nearby and drink on a schedule.
Let's touch on seating. The guide says seating isn't just for resting, it's a tool.
Active seating. A rolling garden seat allows you to scoot along a border. You are working, but your weight is supported.
So you're not loading your knees or lower back.
Right. And for times when you must be on the ground, a kneeler with side handles is essential.
Those handles are key for leverage getting back up, aren't they?
It gives you a stable platform to push off of, engaging your triceps and shoulders, rather than relying solely on leg strength and balance.
We've covered a lot of physical logistics, but I want to spend some time on the final section of the guide, which I think is arguably the most important.
The mental and social aspect.
Because when people feel they can no longer garden, they feel a loss of identity.
That is a profound issue. For many, the garden is their primary connection to nature, their creative outlet, their reason for getting up in the morning.
And losing that can lead to isolation.
Then decline. The guide suggests reframing gardening as a community activity.
It doesn't have to be solitary.
Community gardens are fantastic because they often have raised beds and accessible paths already built. You get the joy of gardening without the infrastructure maintenance.
And the social connection, which is huge.
There's also the concept of intergenerational gardening, teaching a grandchild or a younger neighbor.
I love this idea. You provide the expertise.
They provide the muscle. It's a perfect trade.
It transforms the activity from a chore into a mentorship.
Which is deeply fulfilling. And cognitively, gardening is pretty demanding, isn't it?
It is. It's excellent executive function training. You're planning, scheduling, troubleshooting pests, observing patterns.
It keeps the mind sharp.
The guide had a troubleshooting section I found really practical. If this hurts, do that.
It empowers you to diagnose the problem. If your knees hurt, the solution isn't stop gardening.
It's stop kneeling.
Use a raised bed or a long-handled tool. If your hands hurt, use ratcheting tools. It effectively removes the excuse to quit.
So if a listener's taking all this in and thinking, okay, this sounds great, but where do I start?
Start small. The quick start guide approach. Do not try to overhaul your entire landscape in one weekend.
That's a recipe for injury right there.
Exactly. Pick one pain point. Is it bending over? Build one raised bed or set up 3 containers on caddies. See how that feels.
Incremental changes.
Right. Solve the problem that is causing you the most pain right now.
I want to circle back to the opening thought about adaptation. There's a bigger picture here regarding sustainability.
Yes.
We usually use that word for the planet, but it applies to us too.
A garden that destroys the gardener's body is not a sustainable garden. It's a failed system.
Wow.
If the maintenance of the garden causes injury, the garden will eventually be abandoned. So self-care is actually the most critical form of garden maintenance.
That is a powerful reframing. You are the most important plant in the garden.
In a way, yes. You have to nurture the gardener to nurture the garden.
And maybe, just maybe, this transition makes us better gardeners.
I believe it does. When we are young and strong, we can muscle through bad design. We can haul water uphill. We can dig in rock-hard clay.
Brute force gardening.
But when we lose that physical dominance, we are forced to be smarter. We have to observe. We have to use leverage. We have to rely on mulch and biology rather than a shovel.
You stop fighting nature and start working with the systems.
And the constraints drive creativity and efficiency. Gardening isn't about how much sweat you put in. It's about the joy and the life you get out of it.
And you can get just as much joy, maybe even more, by working smarter. That is the perfect note to end on.
It really is.
To everyone listening, get out there, get your hands dirty, but maybe check your wrist alignment and set a timer first.
Absolutely. Happy gardening.
Well, there you have it. 12 ways to make gardening easier, safer, and more enjoyable as we age. Remember, gardening isn't about perfection. It's about the joy of nurturing plants, getting fresh air, staying active, and creating something beautiful. Smart adaptations don't mean you're giving up. They mean you're being wise about taking care of your body so you can keep gardening for years to come. You don't need to implement all of these tips at once. Maybe you start with one raised bed. Maybe you invest in a few ergonomic tools. Perhaps you set up a simple drip irrigation system. Whatever speaks to you, that's your starting point. Now, I know we covered a lot of ground today, so we've created a complete downloadable PDF guide with all 12 tips, product recommendations with direct shopping links, a seasonal planning calendar, and a quick start checklist. You can find that free PDF guide in the show notes, or head over to livingyourSeniorLife.com and look for this episode. The PDF is perfect for printing out and keeping by your potting bench, or just having on your phone when you're at the garden center. If you found this episode helpful, we'd really appreciate it if you'd share it with a fellow gardener who might benefit from these tips. And if you're not already subscribed to Living Your Senior Life, hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Here's to gardening smarter and enjoying every moment of it. Thanks so much for listening, and as always, until next time, take care of yourself and live your best senior life.